Hi, everyone. I'm Nita Ragawansi, President of Music Managers Forum US, MMF-US. We are the leading and oldest trade association for artist managers in the US. And we're part of a larger global network under the umbrella of the International Music Managers Forum with 60 plus MMFs around the world. MMF-US has had a wonderful and impactful history in its 29 years. We here at MMF-US have been continuously growing and working and focusing on the growth of the organization, especially on its programming, its advocacy efforts, and its community networking opportunities. And now we're back out there into the live event space and building our community by actually going to you all. So if you haven't seen us online lately and on webinars, it's because we got back out there into real life to do all-day conferences. We were actually doing all-day conferences that we called the MMF-US Summit. We did one in Los Angeles, one in Atlanta, and one in Nashville. And now we're gearing up coming this fall to do MMF-US Summits in New York, Miami, Chicago, and Austin. And we'll also be doing it all over again and coming back to LA, Atlanta, Nashville, and adding more cities. So look out for us. Make sure that you take a look at your emails, at our social media posts, and you will see more information on that as we build them and as we go along. And we hope to see you and meet you in real life. And we want to make sure that we continue to build our community. So we're doing these community meetups in different cities. We did one in New York, and coming up, we're doing another one in New York. I think it's next week, is it? Yeah. And so look at our website. And we also invite you to join MMF-US. Go and hit the join button on our website and join the organization. So back in November, with the brilliance of our MMF-US Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Fellow, Juliana Castrillon, we launched our Perspective series. And we're here today to bring you our second installment in that series. Perspectives seeks to focus on bringing your voices and ideas to bringing you voices and ideas from a variety of genres and age groups and race, ethnicities, gender, background, identities, all of it, from all aspects of the music industry, ranging from managers and self-managed artists to those who help support in the various areas that artists and managers need, which is publishing, marketing, labels, royalty distribution and collections, et cetera, et cetera. So MMF-US is committed to bringing real inclusivity and plurality into this sector of our industry. And so we focused and started last year this huge effort to make sure that we stay open to feedback, that we invite you to give us your feedback, and that we bring on Juliana to help build our DE&I strategy and really work towards those efforts in all sorts of amazing ways. So we definitely encourage you to get involved, to feel that the door is open, and use the organization as you wish, and come talk to us. You can email info@mmfus.com. Okay, so before I turn this over to our amazing curator and moderator of the Perspective series today, I wanted to thank the Bold Women's Leadership Network, because it's because of their generous support that we were able to get Juliana into our staff, into our team, and have a diversity, equity, and inclusion fellow whose purpose it is to develop and implement the DE&I strategy, as I said. So I am proud to introduce you to the fabulous Juliana Castrillon, who helped curate this amazing panel today and will be moderating our second episode of Perspectives. Juliana, oh wait, right before have you come and do this, I wanted to make sure everybody knows how to use Zoom, but I want to make sure that you do use it. So get in there, say hello in the chat, introduce yourself to the group, tell us where you're from. It's kind of fun if you want to, and feel free, of course, to give us questions. You can use the Q&A part for the questions that you'll have for our speakers. So Juliana Castrillon, take it away. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. I'm very excited. As Nita said, my name is Juliana Castrillon, and I'm the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Fellow at MMF-US. This past year, we were able to create this wonderful series, and it's really just a space for an open conversation. It's a safe space to talk about experiences, your career. You're going to hear, these wonderful panelists tell you a little bit about their best practices, what their challenges have been, and basically we're just going to learn from these amazing speakers today. I also want to introduce Wesley Ahara, who is the VP of Education and Membership of MMF-US. He can be, moderating or looking at the chat if there's any issues. He'll be just kind of like looking at everything from our end. And of course, he is a very key part in, these educational efforts that we have and we provide to you with MMF-US. I don't know, Wesley, if you have a couple words that you want to say, introduce yourself.
Not much. I mean, hi, everybody. I'm Wesley Ahara, VP of Membership and Education of MMF-US. It's great to see you all and see some new faces on the chat as well. I'm consistently around a whole lot of the major music cities in the US and many of the not even super major ones. Always looking for people on the ground to help us with our community membership or chapters or general social and organization for the organization. So please feel free to get in touch with me at wesley@mmfus.com. I'll also drop that in the chat. And yeah, that's that. Thanks so much.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And basically today, we want to highlight diverse perspectives. So we're going to start our conversation. Don't forget to engage with the panelists on our Q&A session in the end by using the Q&A feature. And if you have any other comments and you just want to, have a conversation and be part of the conversation, you can also utilize the chat. But yeah, I'll turn your attention over to our wonderful panelists and I'll let you introduce yourselves to everyone. So feel free to jump in, whomever wants to start.
I'll go first. Hi, I'm Charlene Bryant. I am founder of Riveter Management, a full service management and media company. I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Hi, everybody. I'm Anastasia, Wright, founder and owner of IMG Agency and Records. We are a full service marketing agency and recording label. Happy to be here as well.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Teckchandani. I'm an artist manager. I manage a band called Boyish, and I'm also a full-time project manager at a record label called R&R. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course. Thank you so much for being here. I'm very excited to moderate this panel. And yeah, let's just start and jump right into our first, a point of conversation. I just wanted to learn a little bit more about each of your, the scope of your management business. So, you can tell us a little bit about how many artists you're working with, what your latest projects are, and then maybe tell us a little bit of something you're excited about lately. Nicole, do you want to start?
Sure. So in terms of day-to-day management, I oversee two artists. One is the one I just mentioned, Boyish. They're an indie duo. And then I manage an artist named Amelia Murray, who's a singer-songwriter, no music out, very early stages of development. And then I'm also, as I mentioned, a full-time project manager, and I oversee about 10 artists, give or take. In terms of projects, Boyish just released their last EP in May and has a new single coming out next month, and Amelia is currently working on her debut album. So very excited for everything coming down the pike.
That's amazing. I love Boyish. I'm a big fan.
Oh, honored.
Incredible. Anastasia, do you want to tell us a little bit about your business?
Sure. I think I'm probably, I don't want to say the least experienced, but I probably have the least artists One is on the more emerging side. I manage Teckchandani Stone under the IMG Records umbrella under the agency. And I've been with her now for about 7 years. So we're preparing to release her sophomore album. Very excited for a project to be finished. We all know that process. So we're gearing up to release that hopefully sometime this side of the year. And then all the way on the other side of the spectrum, I am on Janet Jackson's management team. So it's quite interesting, just the dynamics of working with somebody who's so legendary and iconic, and also trying to get a artist to that level. So that's literally the totality of my artist management responsibilities. And I have worked with other talent, I would say not in the long-term capacity, but currently right now, those are the 2 artists on my roster.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And Charlene?
Anastasia, you cannot minimize, like,
Absolutely.
you totally minimize that. You were like, oh, I have the least experience.
Like,
like what? Like, who does that? Really?
I mean, to your point, what's there to say? I'm on Janet Jackson's management team. The end. Bye.
Right. Mic drop.
No. I hope that's not what people think. I am extremely, incredibly humbled every day to work with her. So no, that's not what I wanted to do at all.
Okay, cool. Currently, I am working with some definitely bubbling up and coming talent. One of the artists that I'm very excited about, her name is Gogo Morrow. She just performed on the Impact stage, the Nissan Impact stage at the BET Awards. She is the girl that had the blue ponytail, if no one recognizes it. I have an affinity for artists with colorful hair, apparently. Also, I am working with an up-and-coming artist named London Cheshire. He's an actor. With Riveter Management, I'm contracted out to do a lot of things with different companies. I'm GMing a company where I also GM a company that is an artist management company where I work with a lot of day-to-days, teaching them as well. I'm blessed to be part of a program called Equal Access here in Nashville. That is a joint venture with M Theory and CMT that's giving 3 managers of color, 3 artists of color, an opportunity to dive into the country music space. So I went from Christian and gospel to hip hop to country. So I like to say that I went from righteous to ratchet to now Wranglers. So that's my story. I'm also working on some film and TV projects. And so, yeah, that's kind of the gamut of what I'm doing in this space. And I'm got some stuff bubbling. So coming soon, just check me out. There's some stuff I'm going to be announcing very, very soon that I'm excited about as well.
Charlene, you should have checked me on M Theory because I left M Theory out. About Janet, meanwhile. Myself and Charlene work together. I totally not forgot, but I am the DEI partner and partnerships and media. I oversee all of those things for M Theory. For those of you who are not familiar with M Theory, it's the management company for managers. You know, we need management, y'all. We need guidance. It's hard. So a really incredible company. And through them with Equal Access, I'm working with them and I get to work with incredible managerial talent such as Charlene here. So I wanted to throw that in there. Forgot about that.
That is so weird. I used to intern at M Theory in college. So
oh my God. Please tell me one of our M Theory here. I'm not all of us are connected to M Theory.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Very random.
That's amazing. Well, definitely we have, a full scope of different projects and different types of, perspectives of involvement in the music industry. So I think this is going to be really great for the audience. And for, I saw we have some songwriters in country and we also have obviously some managers. So I think that this is going to be a very fruitful conversation for everyone who's watching right now. But yeah, thank you so much for your responses. I want to learn a little bit more and just dive right in into strategies, right? Because that's something that I feel, you know, a lot of managers struggle, especially in the beginning of their careers, to kind of like, you know, have a full strategy of growth. So I'm wondering if you could give us some examples of what have been some of your strongest growth strategies for this year, 2022, 2023. What are some new ways that you're finding growth for your artists, for your business? And maybe we can start off with Charlene, since you were last in the other question.
Yeah, well, one of the tips I will give is fail fast, right? There's no blueprint to what we do, and everything is changing so quickly. Like the biggest buzzword of the last 12 months has been NFTs, right? 2 years ago, no one was talking about NFTs. So there is no blueprint to what we do as managers. Everything is so new. Everybody's on this TikTok trend, but then yesterday, everybody's like, delete TikTok. But then Beyonce goes on TikTok and then she has 3 million followers today. So like, we don't know what to do, but fail fast. So try everything, fail fast, fail forward. So just do whatever and trust your gut. So I know for me, I just kind of go against the grain. And digital strategy is here to stay. However, grassroots is too. So for me, it's about a blending. It's not an or, it's an and. So I just always think of old school strategies, like putting the flyers on the car, like figuratively, but also digitally. So how can I have a digital strategy of putting a flyer on a car, but how can I also legitimately put a flyer on a car in this day and age? What does that look like? How can I market my artist in that way? And how is it appropriate to market that artist and their music in that way? Because I have a pop client and an R&B client, and I used to work in hip hop and I used to work in gospel, and those are all different genres, different budgets. So everything looks a little bit different, because what I used to do in hip hop, I can't do in R&B. R&B is a slower burn than hip hop. Hip hop, I can release a song once a week. R&B, I can't do that. I have to go a little bit slower. I have to take my time. So it's all about just thinking outside the box, but not reinventing the wheel, right? Everything is just, we're repeating itself, but just finding creative ways to do it that's authentic to your artist and their sound. And I'm going to quote Clive Davis, everything is about the song. I think we've lost the art of why we do this. The music is key, because this music, it's so much music out and releasing so frequently, and a lot of it is not good. It starts with the song. It has to be good, y'all. It really just has to be good music. And from there, you can do whatever you want. So I'm gonna get off my soapbox. Welcome to my TED Talk.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I think that's so meaningful for sure. There's very great advice, and I can see in the chat that people are resonating with it too. So thank you so much, Charlene. Anastasia, do you wanna tell us a little bit about what you think your strongest growth strategies are?
I just wanted to, the universe is aligned. Apparently, I didn't go on a rant. I shared my feelings on LinkedIn recently about frustration, not frustration, but a observation of the current climate of our industry. And I literally, Father Clive was in there in terms of, I literally said, I think it's almost becoming a badge of honor now if the industry doesn't get your artist. It's almost like you don't want the industry to get you, because all the good artists, that's like a sign like you're going to blow up and be really successful, because clearly the industry is just missing the mark and continues to miss the mark on all these incredible artists, and they don't get it. And it's literally becoming a joke now. So, and I said, Clive's first signing was Janis Joplin. So what a track record to follow behind. But I think seconding what Charlene was saying about not trying to invent the wheel, I think sometimes because there's a lot of noise it can feel like you want to touch all the new shiny things, and you don't need to go to all the new shiny things. It's really about sticking to tried and true methods. There is a blueprint. Contrary to what people think in the industry, there is a blueprint of how to successfully release and market yourself as an artist. Now, that blueprint needs to be tailored to who you are and what music you're putting out. But there is a nice little, the industry is what? Are we at 100 years? I'm talking about like the modern day music industry, it's approaching 100 years old. So there is, tried and true methods of how to build an audience, how to touring, there's things that are there. And I think it's really just taking the time to educate yourself and make sure your team is educated. If I had to give anything for me, that's been really essential in terms of strategy is team. I think it's incredibly overlooked to understand that you can't do this alone and you're not supposed to do this alone. And the process of not doing it alone is not going to be perfect, but you will need to have good people around you to help you execute. You cannot do everything, especially whatever level of success that you're looking to reach as an artist or as an artist manager. You're going to need some good people around you. And it's a process, but it's definitely necessary, and it's part of the strategy. You can't do everything, and if you think you know everything, you don't. So I think the sooner you embrace that and understand that, all right, I know I'm going to need people. I know I'm going to have to share my vision. I know I'm going to have to share myself and what I want to do with other people. You have to get comfortable in that, because it can be hard, because artists are sharing, it's who they are, it's their dreams. We are helping them become what they have always wanted to become. We're helping them tell their story, put their narrative out. So it's a really important job. So I get it that it can be hard to invite people in, but it's necessary, and definitely a big part of, at least it's been my strategy in terms of bringing on really good people. The second thing that I always, on my soapbox, I'm screaming is international. Please have an international strategy for yourself from the beginning. I'm not talking about waiting. I'm talking about from the beginning, and really understanding that we've always been in a global market, but digital has truly changed that for artists in terms of really creating revenue streams that can be super immediate, very quick, especially just not throwing shade on America. Well, we should throw shade. America's a little shady right now, so we're gonna throw shade on America right now. It's not the best market for artists. America does not treat artists well. They don't value music and art the way international markets do, particularly Europe. Is incredible in terms of the opportunities that exist for artists and how they value musicians and just how they receive musicians. I don't know if recently any of you saw like Nicki Minaj in London, Summer Walker was in London, like that level of love and like appreciation, even the level of crowd, like I so understood why they were like, oh my God, I haven't been embraced like this. I was like, yeah, overseas is great. My artist Tangina, she's toured Japan, she's toured London, she's low-key like a little celebrity in Japan, insecurity. I think it can also be a boost to the artists, not ego, but their confidence, because it's really hard to break here in the US, and sometimes artists can feel like they're not making inroads, and you have to get them out of that mindset. Like success is a big pie, and maybe something's not happening over here, but oh my God, I'm on the charts in Germany, I'm on the charts in Australia, I have a touring opportunity or a festival opportunity in New Zealand, so I think really thinking and having a more international mindset around who you are as an artist and using that data to figure out what that looks like for you. I guarantee you everybody has an international listenership, but you just have to pay attention to where it is. Check it all across the board. Check your Spotify audience, your SoundCloud, wherever your music is being put out. Make sure to just check real quick on what those markets are, those top markets, and go towards them. Put a strategy around those markets that you see that are popping up.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. And I feel like sometimes, we live in bubbles. And so, thinking about expanding, what you usually do, what you usually know, which is, if you live in America, it will be the American market. But thinking outside of the box in that perspective, I think is really, really useful, especially if you make music that it can absolutely resonate with genres that are more popular internationally, you know? So that's really valuable information. Thank you so much. Nicole, do you have anything to add on about, you know, your strongest growth strategy? What do you think you could recommend?
Yeah, sure. I think everything you guys have said has been really enlightening and eye-opening for me. I'm like writing it all down as you guys are speaking. I think for me, I found some like more tangible things that I've been able to do to actually see growth. There's a few things, but the number one thing that I realized like really helped my artist is editorial playlisting on Spotify, which kind of started with, you know, fostering and developing direct relationships with teams at DSPs, which isn't always easy. And sometimes it's cold emailing random people, and other times it's, you know, bugging your friends to like send a link for you. But especially in the indie sphere, I think one major thing that has been super helpful to me is like learning how to pitch your music properly, making sure you get your music in the back end early and on time before they even recommend. More than 2 weeks, give it a month, give it a month and a half. Like, it is a tangible and obvious way to make sure that your music is heard by people. So that's number one, especially for indie artists who don't have much of a budget, and you know, you're relying on small teams of people at these DSPs who are tastemakers to put you on a big playlist, and that will guarantee you an audience boost. That's one way. The second, like more tangible strategy that we're still, you know, working and reworking is, as you mentioned, Charlene, is, you know, TikTok and Instagram. Like, those are two of the biggest discovery tools that we have today, especially in the indie scene. Making sure, even though, you know, I think it's tough because a lot of artists don't like to be social media influencers and aren't at their core. They're artists, they're producers, they're writers. But I think, you know, since it's such a saturated market, and if you don't have a budget or if you don't have a big label behind you, give yourself the best shot you can. And, you know, if you're open to it, have a consistent posting schedule. If you post once a day at the same time and your music is good, one of your 100 videos is bound to get some traction. So I think, you know, even though it's difficult and challenging, and I don't think artists should have to be social media influencers to be successful, I think give yourself the best shot you can, especially if you're really small and you don't have a huge team behind you. You know, don't put all your eggs in one basket, but those are two of the biggest discovery tools today, and like use them to your benefit.
Right. Thank you so much. And I think that really complements what Anastasia was saying about, you know, having a team versus being on your own, right? So these tools can be useful for the individuals or like the self-managed artists, which we also have, you know, as part of our audience in MMF-US. So thank you so much. And Charlene,
can I piggyback really quick on something?
Absolutely,
Nicole
yes,
said?
please.
Sorry, Nicole, to your first 2 points about being scrappy and like getting to know editors at Spotify, and also just making sure they got music in advance. I just want to share like a success story that my co-manager did with a strategy on how we got Go-Go at BET Awards. Because if anybody paid attention, Go-Go Morrow only has one song out. She does not have a ton of followers on Instagram. It's because of my co-manager being super scrappy and getting to know Jesse Collins' team. Jesse Collins is a production company that does all of BET, MTV, but like all of the Viacom award shows and everything. She got super scrappy and got to know someone on his team and sent Go-Go's EP earlier, like 2 months ago, and said, hey, check out my artist. Listen to this, you need to get to know her. Literally a week before the BET Awards, we got a call and said, hey, do you want her to get on this 60 seconds of TV time on this stage? And we were like, what? So being scrappy, getting out there, getting the music to someone, networking, getting to know people, because she is signed to Universal Music Canada. They were like, we can't do anything to get her on BET. We can't. Don't let anybody tell you what somebody can do for your artist. Get out there, hustle, network, put your artist out there, get aligned, and do it yourself. Like, although we have blueprints and labels we can depend on, blah, 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 we are responsible for the destiny of our artists, just like Anastasia said. So yes, I just wanted to close the full circle of what the other
Absolutely.
community said and just share that success story, because we literally were like, she has one song out. This is, we can't believe this is happening right now. So, you know.
So not to beat the horse, but I think taking from Nicole and Charlene, like really understanding that you have to do the work offline. Like, I think because, yes, DSP, somebody asked and I answered privately, DSP is digital service provider. It's everywhere you listen to music. That's just a term, an industry term for Spotify, Apple, Deezer, all the streaming platforms.
All of it. Yeah.
All of them, just a short acronym for it. But I think a lot of artists, especially the newer and the younger managers as well, they're very on here. And on here is great, but you have to get out there as well. So what are you doing with MMF? I heard a mixer. If y'all in New York, I think you should be hitting up Nita about going to the mixer. You know, like you have to get out there and not just be on here.
Yes, I'm there.
Nita's here, but you can go see her there, you know? So I just had to say, because, you know, everybody just wants to sit behind a computer, but no, you can send those emails, but Charlene, I'm sure you can, baby, I was popping up at the label if I had to. I was at the front. Like, that's how I even got in the industry. When I was trying to get in, I didn't have all these tools. So how I developed relationships, I was going to Def Jam. I was like, hi, you know, like, wait, hello, hi, who are you? You know, like, so I think you have, yes, I just had to, because it's such an important unseen work that people don't ever really get to see or understand.
Totally, 100%. It's so important to establish, you know, real life connections too. I feel like those are memorable, you know, and they can really open up the doors for you and your business and your artist. So I definitely echo what you said. Absolutely. But now that we've talked a little bit about, you know, success stories, advice, all of that, I kind of want to kind of go into problem solving, right? Because obviously as a manager, a lot of it is putting fires off, you know? So I just want to learn a little bit about what have been some of your biggest challenges being a manager with your artists in your career, but also how did you overcome it? How can you make, you know, a challenge a success story? So if anybody wants to start first, it's up to you.
I'm trying to pick the
Think about it. Come on. With a challenge.
Choose a challenge. There are so many.
yes. Okay, I just, for the question's sake, are we talking about ourselves as managers or with our artists? Because that'll help me.
I think as a manager first, and then with your artists, if that's okay. You could talk about both.
To keep it kind of overarching and on topic, I mean, we're sitting here as women of color in management. The end. Challenge. I think the challenge of everything the above, just being taken seriously. I can't tell you how many times I walked into the room and, are you with the band? No, I'm not with the band.
Are you the mom? Are you the sister? Are you the assistant? No, none of the above. I'm the one that runs shit.
I'm the one that you booked the show. Yeah, hi. Are you the manager? You're not. So where's the manager? And I think that work, again, just the unseen advocacy, the artists that I particularly represent, even your Janets, you know, of the world, she's still a Black woman. And Lord knows all that she's gone through and the things that she's had to go through for all the other Black women in the industry, that she's still, I think at times we have to sit back like, are y'all serious? You know, like, it's Janet. Like, but it's a real thing in terms of the valuation of women in the industry and how we're perceived down to salary, opportunities given to us, and then the artists that we have to represent. Like, we go to bat every single day. You'll be surprised. Not that I'm saying to try these tactics, but I have done a fake mail email before. Yeah. I've done a fake mail Gmail where it's a man, seemingly like white male name. And I've gotten different offers for the same artist. You know.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Back in the day, I used to go by Charlie on my resume, and I got more calls than Charlene on my resume.
Yeah.
When I first moved to Nashville, yeah, back in 2007. That's crazy.
Yeah. And then I think just the little things, fighting for those incremental, no, my artist rate is this, and you're gonna pay her this, and or you don't want to pay her why, like it's always going to be, unfortunately, that advocacy and those battles that we have to go to, not just for ourselves, but on behalf of, particularly me. I represent female talent of color, LGBTQ talent of color, and really just making sure that they're getting the same treatment as everybody else.
Absolutely. Thank you for your honesty and, your candor. I think obviously that's a huge challenge and it's a reality. And I hope that initiatives like this and just in general, being part of an audience where we get to hear about these challenges, that we can understand how do we make this better when I tackle the music industry every day? How do I become an ally, right? But yeah, maybe we can hear a little bit more from Nicole and Charlene, whomever wants to jump in.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go first if that's better. But one of the biggest challenges that I faced as a manager is, I mean, it's still a challenge that I face, is obviously expanding our audience and trying to get listenership. It's like the overarching goal, I think, of most managers and their artists. But my artist Boyish actually used to go by the name The Blue. Before I started managing them, that's what they were called. And they had one album out and it had pretty much no listeners. And when I started managing them, I was trying to figure out what is the problem here? Why can't anyone find them? And it's because their name was, incredibly generic. They had an album out called Carnation. When you Google The Blue Carnation, it's just a bunch of flowers. You're not finding them. That's not happening. They're 75 down on Spotify. You can't find them on Instagram. They have to have a weird handle with underscores and dots because the blue is taken, obviously. So that was a huge obstacle when I first started managing them. And probably 4 or 5 months in, I was we just have to change the name. To be honest, it's not possible. The basic SEO strategy here will not work unless we change the name. So it took some time, 4 or 5 months for us to agree on a name that everyone liked, something that felt authentic. We had to, start a new Instagram, new Spotify, pretty much a complete rebrand and start from fresh, which was so scary. But ultimately, the reason they have any success today is because we changed the name. So, I think sometimes your hardships can lead to your biggest successes. And that was something that was very eye-opening for me when I first started managing. Something as simple as your artist name can affect the way that people consume your music. So you have to be strategic in every which way you promote yourself. But yeah, that was a big one for me.
Yeah, 100%. That's crazy too, because you have to basically pivot your entire everything that had been built at that point. But sometimes it's worth it, and you have to take the risk, that it entails. So applaud you for that and your team. Charlene, do you want to tell us about your experience?
Yeah, my most recent challenge is a very, very interesting one. It was a very humbling one, I'll be honest. I was very intentional. I moved back from LA. I lived in Nashville for years, and I moved to LA 2 years, not for me, and was very intentional about moving back to Nashville and how I wanted to approach the music scene here, Music City, and moved back a year ago and wanted to be intentional about getting in the country space, wanted a challenge, got very close to a dynamic, dope Black female country artist, Mickey Guyton. Just felt empowered, locking arms with a lot of Black country artists and just making sure their voices were to be heard. And I came in cocky. I came in strong, I managed Trippie Redd for 3 years. I got all these accolades. I got 22 plaques, Billboard Hip Hop Power Player 2 years in a row. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the GOAT. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna dominate this country scene. And these country artists looked at me no, we do not. We respect you coming from this hip hop space, and all those accolades are great. However, we are having a struggle in this space as Black country artists. So we don't want a Black manager. We want the white managers because there's no Black managers over here. So we don't want help from you. That's great that you did that over there. And that was so like, what? You know what I mean? It was just like, oh my God. I was that level of rejection after coming off of such like, again, the accolades and the highs that I've had in my career, and just coming over here thinking I was going to dominate this space, and not even being, there are people that have welcomed me in this space, but the majority of the people have not. This is definitely still a good old boys club. And they're like, we don't care what you have done in hip hop. This is country and we don't do things like that. We don't do that over here. And I'm just like, yo, this is going to be a lot harder than I thought. And so for me, but I love a challenge. So when I get on this Billboard Country Power Player list, it's going to be even more rewarding because I'm going to, because it's going to be so dominating when I get over here and get this country artist and I bubble and we get to the top and I get the accolades on this side. But it was very, very humbling. And it's essentially, I feel like I am starting all over at the like bottom of my career. Like I'm starting from the ground level of making connections, networking, and it's been challenging. There are nights that I'm just like, yo, what am I doing? Did I make the right decision? I'm questioning myself. It's a lot of mental health stuff that I'm going through. If I'm being honest, it's been the most humbling yet rewarding experience that I've gone through in my career thus far. But that has been the most challenging thing that I've gone through so far, honestly.
Yeah, that does sound really tough, you know, especially breaking into a genre that, you know, is historically or, you know, is dominated by, you know, a certain group of people that, you know, don't look like you, right? Don't look like me. So, you know, trying to break into that a general idea is obviously part of the struggle, and I can't imagine, you know, having to start my career over essentially, you know, to try and break through and do it. And I'm very happy that that you mentioned this too, because I know that there are some people here who are very into the country space, and so this I think is kind of like a call or, you know, an encouragement for people in the country space to stay open-minded, and to remember that, you know, I mean, I am a Latina woman who makes rock music and metal, and I don't necessarily sing reggaeton, you know what I mean, or Spanish music. And that's the case for a lot of people that come from different backgrounds and look like, you know, different from the norm. So, you know, if you're in the country space, this is something to remind you of, you know, to stay open and to always remind yourself that you don't have to fit a certain image or look to be able to make music, because music is worldwide and it's cultural. Cultural is meant to be shared, you know. So hopefully, you know, that resonates with people who are part of this space, of this genre. Absolutely.
And by the way, when I do it, I'm opening the jet bridge. I'm not opening a door. I'm opening the jet bridge for everybody behind me to come on through and welcome.
Absolutely. Yeah. We have a woman leader pioneer right here. So thank you so much for really being a trailblazer and jumping into that space, because it's certainly, I mean, I've seen many documentaries about it too, and how challenging it can be, and it's certainly controversial, you know. Absolutely. So thank you. So we're getting very close to the end. We have a couple more minutes, so maybe we'll wrap up one last question from here and then look at the questions from the chat. So I guess if you had one big takeaway, one big piece of advice that you could give to managers out there, maybe to entrepreneurs who are trying to, you know, maybe start a business in management, what is the one thing that you could leave people today with a message? What would that message be before we jump into some of the audience questions? Maybe Anastasia, do you want to start? I've been picking you every time, but
for some reason, I just got super granular in my brain when you said advice, because this will save all of you a lot of time and money. Do not ignore your A&R admin responsibilities, managers. Please. I just got super granular, and if you don't know what A&R admin, you should not be managing. If you don't know what that means, it is how and the why of how you make money for your artists and yourself. It's metadata at its finest. You don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I advise you to, if you are managing, to have a familiarization with it. It's connected to the publication side of things. The A&R admin is literally the rights to any work that your artist is putting out, what's happening with those rights, who owns the rights, and who has the right to do what with it. That will literally dictate so much for you, because without that crucial back end being in place, you can set yourself up for some really crazy lawsuits in the future, or even loss of real money. If it's not registered properly, it's not being tracked properly by all the hard work you're putting in to get this exposure and visibility and relationships on behalf of your artist. And oh wow, it's not even registered and not even been tracked by Spotify. Wow. I think that's like super granular and specific, but it's something that's so overlooked because everybody, again, likes to, it's the fun stuff, I call it, the marketing and the net, performing, but no, your business side, your A&R admin is so important. Get that split sheet together, get it up together. Your artist should not be signing anything in their name. You get that LLC together. I don't care what you want to call it. Your artist should be under something. It can be their name, LLC. I don't care what it is, but nothing should be in their name. Their bank, any money that's coming in should not be coming to their personal bank account. Like, it's literally, I don't care if it's $5 from Spotify. It should be going into their business, whatever the name of that company is, checking account. And I say that, like, get it from the beginning, because what you don't want to happen is, that song takes off, and now what? You over here scrambling to figure out what's going on with the song, and you have this producer trying to come and say that you owe them $10,000, $20,000. Like, no, you don't want any of that headache. Make sure that business side is tight, and then focus on everything else.
100%. That's a great piece of advice for sure. And thank you so much for sharing that. Charlene, do you want to give us a piece of advice?
Piece of advice. So this was a meme I saw that allegedly Jeff Bezos said. I don't know, and fact check it. But someone asked Jeff Bezos how he became a billionaire, and he said he hired smart people and read a lot of books. He didn't say he hustled, he didn't sleep, he did everything on his own, I think as entrepreneurs, we get caught up in this hustle and grind. And yes, you have to hustle for sure, but hustle smart. And when you get enough capital, hire people. It's called investing in your business. You got to do it. If you got to eat ramen so you can pay somebody minimum wage, you're going to get a return on that investment. That, like, every billionaire that has been out there has done it with the help of other people. A lot of times we think I'm gonna save money and do it all myself, and then you end up having a stroke or a heart attack because you can't do it. So, and read books. I like books. There's a lot of books that I am reading. Chillpreneur is one of them that I'm diving into, because again, we can't do it all. So yes, read books, hire smart people. That's my tip.
I love that one. I agree. We need to read more books too. I think especially the younger generation. I'm definitely Gen Z. Gen Z needs to read books for real. So thank you.
Or at least listen to them on Audible. I'll take that. I don't really read books. I listen to them all. I'm sorry, I do.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair. Totally valid.
Everything you need to know in the music industry is still relevant. I have it, but I don't know.
Yes.
Is that still a good book?
Yes. Donald E. Passman. That's the Bible.
The Bible, right?
Mostly.
Totally. And Nicole, do you want to share a piece of advice as well?
Sure. This was something my boss had actually taught me, and it was that no one gives a shit about your artist as much as you do. So do it yourself, and if it's good enough and the music is good enough and you are eye-catching enough and you are working hard enough, people will come to you. So do it yourself, and then, you know, build out your team later, but it starts with you. So don't rely on anyone.
Oh, that's so true. That's so true. Thank you so much. And thank you again all for, you know, really, really giving so much good input on every one of these questions. I don't know if you've seen the Q&A chat yet so far, but maybe we can, you know, just quickly answer a couple. I see one of the first ones was, Anastasia, if possible, can you share on going international for like songwriters? What can you propose in brief, or is that a recommended thing to do for songwriters as well? What do you think?
Absolutely. I'll share a quick resource that Tangina makes a lot of money on. It's called Sound Better. It's actually owned by Spotify. So Sound Better is a marketplace to connect songwriters with producers, composers together, and it's very much global. She, speaking again, just going back, jumping over genre equity and understanding as an artist and a songwriter, you do not have to exist in the spaces that the industry has told you you should exist. If you are Black, you do not have to write R&B and hip hop. You really do not. You can go write a country record. You can go write EDM. And I say that because Latangina is on so many EDM records. Her voice and her words and her lyrics on charts in Berlin and Italy and Paris. She works with a lot of producers overseas because of Sound Better. And that exposure has been incredible for her in terms of her international expansion. She's also a songwriter. So I think that's one of the easiest, quickest, because it's directly, and it also kind of ties into your Spotify, I believe, as well. But it's a great resource for songwriters to kind of, I think, quickly connect with that global marketplace. And I think also check out Splice. Splice is also a really cool way for producers, songwriters to connect with that global community as well.
Yeah, that's amazing. Those are really good resources. And talking about resources very briefly, I'm going to drop that link. I just dropped a link on the chat. It's on the MMF-US website. If you go to mmfus.com/links or on resources on our page, there's a whole library of different resources in many different aspects of the industry that you can tap into, like PROs, accountants, alternative financing companies for your artists. There's all sorts of resources and contact information that you can access if you want to dive into that. That's something that we've been building to provide access to information for newer managers, or for, you know, in general, just to connect people as well. And I think we have, let's see if there's another question in the chat. I guess, Anastasia, you're probably writing. It says, it's Sound Better good for production work, right? That results in percentage points on records. I thought it was mainly about buyout and work for hire.
It is, it can be. Probably is primarily buyouts, work for hires, but no, it's not just for that. Once you are talking to whoever you are working with, you can work out what the splits in the publishing look like on the back end privately.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for answering that. But anyway, I wanted to just wrap this up by saying, obviously we didn't get to all of the questions, but this webinar is going to be available on our YouTube channel. So definitely go to youtube.com/musicmanagersforumUS. And then if you subscribe, you will get a notification for when we do upload it. And over there, you can also feel free to comment on the webinar, you know, recording, and we will try to answer these questions for you and try to definitely reach out and answer these questions if we didn't get to them during this time. But now we're getting really close to our end time. So I just want to quickly say thank you so much to Nicole, Charlene, Anastasia for coming here and joining this conversation. I learned so much, and I'm sure the audience did as well. I'm very, very grateful that you were able to join us, and you made the second episode of Perspective successful and possible. And of course, thank you to Nita and Wesley for supporting these initiatives and giving me a space to create this series so that we can all, just have conversations with amazing and talented people in the industry.